The Nagas are serpentine, dragon-esque deities that live within the space that is within the elasticity of earth and water. They are very powerful, and they require an absolutely pristine, clean environment. Any intrusions into that environment, smoke, blood, barbecue, meat, any of these things will upset them. And when they're upset, you start to have distortions in what we could say the climate. They're reacting, they're responding. Because the Nagas are very interesting. They're what we call a samsara deity. They have emotions like we people have emotions. Unlike bodhisattvas or taras or other deities within the pantheon of the Hindu Buddhist tradition, the Nagas have emotion. And I think if we want to look at the Nagas in respect of what's happening overall with our environment, in Tibet, whenever we construct a house or whenever there's the building of a new section to a monastery, any construction at all, a lot of puja and prayers are necessary to placate the Naga, to ask their permission before we can actually intrude into the earth or intrude into the water. And if we don't have that permission, they will react accordingly. And so what you see now is you see big multinational corporations running recklessly across the earth. Governments like we just saw recently in Washington, the Trump administration refusing to even acknowledge climate change as a distortion in our environment, the intention to revitalize the coal industry with strip mining. All of these things will make the Naga very angry and upset, and they will respond. And therefore you see the more that we have disrupted our environment through our own short-sightedness, the more you now have all kinds of climatic distortions, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, things we've never seen before, in a kind of volume we've never seen before. The Nagas are telling us we need to get back in line and start taking care of our environment, their environment, and keep it clean, pure, and that's all the more reason for us to get moving on more renewable energy solutions, wind, solar, systems that are not intrusive, that can also give us the energy we need, but not upset the Nagas. On a quantum physics or science level, what are the Nagas? The Nagas, if we're looking at quantum physics, we're looking at anything that's happening on a macro or on even an intergalactic level is also happening on the tiny planetary level of our cellular system, our atoms, our photons. All of these are universes, and everything is happening simultaneously in a multiverse. Well, if we wanted to understand the Naga as a source, as an element within our own bodies, electrons and neurons are made up of many, many, many millions of tiny snake-like particles that are working together and have their own world. So in many ways, the Naga as a force is occurring or is present even at the tiniest subparticle levels all the way up to the very big climatic big movements that we can see happening today. The Naga, of course, we know the Naga in the Hindu Buddhist traditions. We have Naga images all over the temples in India, in Thailand, in Laos, all over Tibet, of course. And in sort of another sphere, China, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, that same Naga takes more on the personality of a dragon. Actually, we're talking about the same idea. On the Kala Chakra, Great Kala Chakra mandala, the 4 entry points into the Kala chakra, ultimately the 4 entry points into the realm of Shambhala, are guarded by Naga kings. The Naga kings are the guardians. They can be protectors as well as responding when we get out of line on the environment. And so the Naga as a force is seen across cultures. And if we even wanted to go further, let's follow from our Hindu traditions all the way to Europe. Of course we have dragons. I mean, a Celtic tradition. My ancestors on my mother's side were Irish. And of course we have a lot of dragon traditions in Ireland. And yes, the original Celtic language is actually very related to Sanskrit. It is very connected. We have terms like Tara, and we have all of these, the land of the kings of Ireland was called Tarakan. And so these were all interconnected with the deeper Indo-Hindu-based traditions that came to Europe. Likewise, if we follow in another direction, we'll find that the Naga appears in Africa. Mamiwata is a great serpent deity in Africa, also connected with rains and water and the environment. And so the Naga seems to, wherever we go, be intimately connected with the environment and particularly water. If we need water in times of drought, we call upon the Naga serpents to help us. So they're not just reacting to environmental intrusions, they are also able to benefit us. They are conduits to the rains. And of course, Ivan, if we go in the other direction across the Pacific and we come to Central America, even North America with tribes like the Hopi, and of course all over South America, we have the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl. And Quetzalcoatl, in fact, is the Naga in form, the feather, the serpent, the source of communicating with rain, bringing rain at times of drought, being able to adjust the seasons. Quetzalcoatl has a deep connection with the Naga. So we're now not just talking about something that's connected to only Hindu Buddhist tradition. We're talking about something which is universal. It's shared around the world. And whether you want to perceive these as deities or you want to understand them on a science level as chromosome type bodies that are in motion within the elasticity of earth and water, or you want to understand these as energies, I'm not going to go into that debate. But we need to know they're there. They need to be respected. Our environment needs to be respected. And we also know that they're in many ways bringing us together as humanity. So let's look at some other icons. We have, of course, the story of the Prajaparamita, which is the great Buddhist teachings being given to Nagarjuna through a entry point to the netherworld, a water point by Nagas. The Nagas brought the teachings. We also have another interpretation of that in the Bible, where you have Eve getting an apple from the snake. And of course, the interpretation in some schools is that the apple, is basically causing people to be aware of their sexuality, and it is a disruptive force. But actually, in another way, if we think of it, the snake is giving us the fruit of wisdom, the understanding of the importance of the Shakti-Shiva relationship, the yin and the yang, the feminine energy and the masculine energy working in harmony and actually creating really the energy systems that we can use to be able to be part of the universal hologram or to interconnect with the higher wisdoms. And so here we always see the Naga as a conduit to wisdom, a conduit to knowledge, a force that warns us against the mistakes we can make with the environment. And if you really think about this, is the highest wisdom, because our planet is so tiny. If you really think about it in space, it's just a tiny air pocket. And if we break that air pocket, we mess up these very limited resources. we have nothing. So I mean, this is the quintessential wisdom. It's just such common sense. And the Naga are there to remind us of it. If we look at the Naga powers, and we look at forces, and we want to look at the connectivity now across continents, let's look at it from a historical point of view. Let's also look at it from a point of view of universal knowledge. On a historical point of view, we can say people in Asia, through Siberia, through the Bering Straits, the North American, Native Americans or original people in Central South America, all are connected as one family. And if we look at the traditions, of course, we have the Naga rituals and ceremonies all across Asia, whether those are related to the Dragon King or whether they're related in Buddhism to the Naga King or Naga sources. We also have, again, when we're looking at the Hopi Indians in North America, they would use the feather, the eagle feather, to basically appease rattlesnakes and then dance with rattlesnakes in their mouth to call for the rains. This is, again, the feathered serpent. It's Quetzalcoatl. And we're looking back down Central South America at Quetzalcoatl. And I remember even seeing, I believe they're Aztec thunderbolts that are used in rituals to connect with the rains that are shaped like, in a way, like reptilian forms. And I want to show you what we have. We have the Vajra. The Vajra, or in Tibetan, the Dorje, is used also as the lightning bolt. It is our interconnective, indestructible energy, if we want to call it the lightning bolt. I'll draw your attention to some of the very fine details on the edge of each part of this thunderbolt. Yes, look at them. Those are tiny Nagas, each and every one of them. Also, if we're looking at the Porba, at the ritual dagger that's used in Tibetan, many Tibetan rituals and practices, the Kilea practices, if we look at the base of it, the actual dagger itself that's used to shift the energies is in fact a Naga. It is in fact a dragon mouth with two snakes coming out. And what are those snakes? They're coiled snakes. Those are the same types of coiled snakes that we see today being used in the medical profession. The very symbol of the medical profession is intercoiled snakes. This came from the Greeks. It came from Delphi, where there was a medical center, and of course Delphi was very connected with the Hindu traditions. Many of the Greek philosophers were in fact studying under Brahmins. Aristotle, Plato, all of them were studying under Hindu Brahmins who were coming to teach. And there was a huge connectivity between the Hellenic culture and of course the Swat Valley, where the lotus-born master Guru Padmasambhava came from, the kingdom of Odiyana. In fact, the kingdom of Odiyana has many of its sources in Hellenic culture. And when we were filming in many of these regions of the Himalayas, a lot of the people have blue eyes, facial features which are almost Greek. And so it really underscores the connectivity of culture and, of course, the connectivity of philosophy of the Naga, of Quetzalcoatl. So the relationship between Guru Rinpoche, Guru Padmasambhava, the lotus-born master, and Quetzalcoatl. Well, let's look at the character of Quetzalcoatl. He was born, if I'm correct, in Mexico. I believe the site where he's born has Tibetan-style chorten that have been put there, stupas, and many Tibetan lamas go there to worship and give offerings. Why? There must be a deep connection that we haven't seen yet. What was the role of Quetzalcoatl? He was teaching, he taught about compassion, about love, about being able to have a higher mind, a universal mind, to be able to connect with everyone and everything. And he was also the interlocutor between the Naga world and our human world. He was able to adjust weather conditions and call upon the rains through invoking the Naga spirits through his own practices and rituals, which is what the Lotus-born Master has done. And of course, the Lotus-born Master, many of his stories, as we talk about in our documentaries, is in times of drought or crisis, he's able to call upon the Nagas, or if there's a disaster, tame the Nagas, not through force, but through the power of persuasion, or through using these ritual implements to adjust the electromagnetic field. What happens when there's thunder and lightning? That's just electricity. That's just a huge electromagnetic field that is actually giving burst to its outlet. And in many ways, that field can be adjusted, can be manipulated, because it is all about one thing: energy. And he's able to understand frequencies by being totally logged on to the universal hologram, or the unified quantum field. And so if we're going to look at Quetzalcoatl and the Lotus-born Master, well, here are two enormous personalities in the history of two cultures, which, while physically far apart, are very similar in many, many ways, and have many similar understandings of universal phenomena and how to be able to navigate these energy systems through different rituals and different understandings of nature. And if we're looking at both of these two personalities and their own, should we say, interlocutory, mediative relationship with the world of the Naga, the world of the serpent, the world of the dragons, then from that perspective, we can see that both are able to do this, to be able to work with energies, because they are logged on to the universal hologram, or the unified quantum field. So we have a saying that we talk about a lot in our work about Lotus-born Master. I have a book coming out which I talk about this. The Guru's mind is the universal mind. It's everyone's mind. We just have to get back into that mind. That is the universal mind. And people who have practiced, who have achieved a higher level of enlightenment, are leading all of us on this pathway together. And so Quetzalcoatl and the Lotus-born Master are both sharing the Guru's mind. And in many ways, as we have in our last movie, Return of the Lotus-born Master, both are coming back soon.